I'm going to start. It's not working. Hold on a second, it's not working, so let me see what's going on. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay, we're going now. So I'm going to call this meeting to order, and right now we have a quorum. But our first, let's see, our first item on the agenda is the swearing in of our new commissioners, Ms. Foster and Ms. Patel. And if you guys want to come out here, our city attorney will swear you in. Thank you.
One at a time, actually. Okay. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Shittle Foster,
I, Shittle Foster,
hereby accept the honor
hereby accept the honor
of serving as a member of the Cultural Arts Commission of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia.
serving as a member of the City of Alpharetta Cultural Arts Center.
In so doing,
In so doing,
I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I shall faithfully perform the duties of Commissioner.
that I should faithfully faithfully perform the duties of the Commissioner,
That I will regularly attend meetings
that I will regularly attend meetings
and uphold the ideals of community and service.
and uphold the ideals of community and service,
That I will act and conduct business
that I will act and conduct business
in accordance with
in accordance with
the city's code of ethics and conduct,
the city's code of ethic and conduct,
and that I shall support
and that I shall support
the charter and laws
the charter and laws
of the City of Alpharetta,
of the City of Alpharetta,
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the state of Georgia,
and laws of the State of Georgia,
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America.
and the laws of the United States of America.
So sworn this 25th day, January 2022. Please sign here.
Date? No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Patel. Please raise your right hand. Thank you. I, Samita Patel,
I, Samita Patel,
hereby accept
hereby accept
the honor of serving
the honor of serving
as a member of the Cultural Arts Commission
as a member of the Cultural Arts Commission
of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia,
of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia,
and in so doing,
and in so doing,
I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I shall faithfully perform the duties of Commissioner,
that I should faithfully execute the duties of Commissioner,
that I will regularly attend meetings
that I will regularly attend meetings
and uphold the ideals of community and service,
and uphold the ideals of community and service,
that I will act and conduct business in accordance
that I will act and conduct business in accordance
with the city's code of ethics and conduct,
with the City Code of Ethics and Conduct,
that I shall support the charter
that I shall support the charter
and laws
and laws
of the City of Alpharetta,
of the City of Alpharetta,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia
and the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
and the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
So sworn this 25th day of January 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And our next item of business is the election of the officers for 2022. Can I have a nomination for a chair? Okay. Second. And all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. And then can we have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Jean.
And all those in favor? Thank you very much, and I'll turn the meeting over to Diane.
All right, welcome Commissioner Foster and Patel. We're so delighted to have you both on board. And our Councilman Pipes there, thank you, our new liaise. And I think everybody has met our new Councilman, Brian Will. Yay. Welcome, everyone. Terrific, so glad to see you. All right, our first, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to turn on my mic, I apologize. Our first order is to approve the meeting minutes from December 15th. Do I have a motion to accept those?
Make a motion to accept the meeting
All right,
minutes from December.
and a second? Jean seconds. Okay, all in favor? We'll do that. All right, terrific. Moving right along, our next order is new business. We're going to learn about the North Point Eco District Placemaking Plan from Michael Woodman. Welcome, Michael.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for having me this evening. Let's put some items for the overhead here. Again, Michael Woodman. I'm with the Community Development Department. I'm the Planning and Development Services Manager. And this evening, I just have a presentation on the North Point Placemaking Plan, and just really want to give a little bit more information to the Commission about that plan and how it relates back to the Cultural Arts Commission. The initial North Point redevelopment plan, or what we refer to as the LCI, the Livable Centers Initiative, that was actually approved in 2008. And we did a major update to that plan in 2018. That's where we really created where we're trying to create a mixed use environment in that North Point area. We developed that LCI was adopted in 2018, early in the year. Later that year, we adopted the North Point Overlay Code. And then the following year, in October 2019, we adopted the Creative Placemaking Plan. And part of those plans was to identify North Point as an eco-district. So in order to attract the people to that area, we really needed to brand the area and create an identity for the area that was different than the rest of the city. And so this concept of an eco-district, a green, sustainable return to nature, you have the Big Creek Greenway that is existing and a great asset to the community that runs along the rear of some of the retail in that corridor, and how can we take advantage of that? So when we think of North Point, we usually think of the area that is just south or east of 400, but actually the area straddles both sides of 400. This is a map of the North Point Overlay District. You see it runs on the north side. It's basically includes the North Winds area, so basically Haynesbridge down to Mansell, some properties on either side of 400 as well as either side of those streets. And the concept with the Creative Placemaking Plan, one of the largest concepts there was this river of trees. So again, kind of relating back to the Big Creek Greenway, there's a lot of pipe streams through that area. And so how can we connect back this really developed area back to the Big Creek Greenway and connect the retail environment with that Big Creek Greenway? So kind of how that relates back to the Cultural Arts Commission, and the reason I'm here this evening is as part of the Creative Placemaking Plan, there was a lot of discussion of public art, of branding, creating identity for this area. So out of that plan, we identified some district thresholds, some monuments, some typical, the type of public art that we might see in that area as the area begins to redevelop. And so you may have seen, I believe, I don't know if it was last month or the month before, the Lakeview development that is at the corner of Haynes Bridge and 400. I believe you saw something similar to this Alpha concept here as part of their Alpha Loop that went through their development. This was actually developed through the Creative Placemaking Plan, and we found that it adapts well with the Alpha Loop concept. And so the inspiration for some of these monuments that we identified, the consultant identified, came out of, these are some of the inspiration photos that were in that Creative Placemaking plans. And a lot of this, what you see is taking the natural environment or things that we would find in the natural environment, and how can you replicate those using industrial type items. Like this is just a rebar type product that is being used here. These are some concepts that were shown to be used along the Big Creek. Some additional concepts of lighting, but these concepts have a more artistic feel to them, so not your traditional lighting. These are some concepts that could be included throughout the North Point area as well as along the North Point Greenway for some moments that you might see as you walk through that area. And of course, we want to bring in families to the area, so you have to have items that will be useful for children. So, as I mentioned, a lot of these things are going to be more branding type things. That Alpha that you saw, you established the design for that. That may be replicated throughout the district, but we may have additional actual public art, monuments that are used at developments that kind of take that eco-district theme and continue that and vary that look specific to their development. And so you're going to likely see some requests come before this board. Those are typically going to be conditioned by mayor and city council to come before a Cultural Arts Commission. I have some examples of that. But I did want to show you, these are some locations that have gone through some approval processes with mayor and council. Some of these include conditions related to seeking approval from the Cultural Arts Commission. Some of these things were done before the formation of the Cultural Arts Commission, so they won't come before you. In the past, I believe, before this board was created, we brought things before Arts Alpharetta, and before that, sometimes those things were coming before the Design Review Board. So here's a few examples of some developments, some of the newer developments that will include condition. We have the Empire Communities developments that were approved at the end of last year. These are residential developments here off of Kimball Bridge and North Point Parkway, as well as the Morrison Parkway and Hembury area. I believe the Morrison Park mixed-use development at the corner of Haynes Bridge and Morrison Parkway, that had a heavy focus on public art, but there's also going to be some monumentation that will be done there to kind of identify that area as part of this North Point Eco District, so you may see some monuments within that development. This is the residential development that I just mentioned that was recently approved at Kimball Bridge and North Point Parkway. This is Empire Communities. It's a detached, single-family detached residential development. And this represents an entrance into the North Point area from the north or east end of this particular district. And so the applicant at the time of zoning actually provided some monument concepts to council, and those were conditioned. So this represents, the highlighted area represents a condition that you may typically see down the road with the condition for these concepts to be approved by the Cultural Arts Commission.
Excuse me, you're using the term monument to refer to a sculpture. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I have examples of what those look like, yeah. So this is there were two options or concepts that this particular applicant brought forward as part of their zoning request. So they had these large pine cone sculptures. They did have, we do want to make sure that there's some kind of common theme so that you understand that you're either entering North Point or the Eco District. So they use this smaller monument here and they have the term Eco District written on that particular monument. But these are just examples that they brought through. So they showed two examples of this one, as well as this example. These are gabion baskets. I don't know if you've seen this concept typically used you see these used in retaining walls, on stormwater facilities a lot of times. What they were showing here is using the rocks or boulders that they use within the baskets, using different coloring, and then using plantings on the wall to create an art feature. You can see the different coloring they used up in the examples here. So again, these are examples, and basically we didn't want to design these for these applicants at the time of zoning. We didn't feel we're the proper professionals to do that. And so that's why it was conditioned to come to Cultural Arts Commission for your feedback and input into that design. And that is basically all I have brought forward this evening. I am happy to answer any questions that you might have for me. But thank you very much for giving me the opportunity this evening.
Okay, yeah, Michael, I do actually have a question about, originally you were showing some topiaries, basically, that are going to have living plant material going up the topiaries. That can be very high maintenance, very, very high maintenance. I'm just curious about that.
Sure, I mean, that certainly can be, and I will say that in the conditions, we do place conditions that, you know, these monuments are not going to be dedicated to the city. I know that we had some concerns with the A that's at the corner in front of Teasley Place, and we will be placing conditions that if this is a residential development, that the HOA be responsible for ongoing maintenance. If it's commercial development, that they would be responsible for ongoing maintenance. The Teasley Place was probably a learning experience for us, but we do feel that we will be placing conditions on these. But it's certainly a consideration of Cultural Arts Commission if this is coming before you when you're looking at these things to consider as part of what you're ultimately approving.
Right. Any other questions for Michael or clarifications? So my understanding is you're going to be coming back to us with some more specific things. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, so as these applicants have these conditions placed on
Okay.
them, they will then get in touch with staff, fill out the Cultural Arts Commission application, and bring a request forward to you. If we need any kind of refresher to this board from staff, we can certainly come forward with those applicants if that will be helpful to you. We hope to work hand in hand with Kim Zane and her group as the applicants come forward. We want to be as helpful as possible so that, it's a smooth process for these people.
That's terrific. Just one last question. What's sort of timeframes for some things?
So I believe Kim has been contacted by at least two of the developments, the Empire development, the two examples that I just showed you there at the end with the pine cones and the gabion baskets. I believe that developer's they're excited to move forward, and I think, have they submitted an application? No application yet, but I know that they reached out, which was kind of the reason why I was coming forward this evening, so that we know that some of these are going to be coming forward soon. The development at the corner of Morrison Parkway and Haynes Bridge, the Morrison Park development, they've recently gone through their DRB approval on the common areas of their development, and they showed a lot of public art within that development. So I wouldn't be surprised to see or hear from them pretty soon as well.
All right. Terrific. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. Some of these,
No.
the sculptures.
I don't think your microphone's on now, sorry.
Okay. The sculptures and the art materials that you're using, are they going to be recycled materials, or are they just going to be a blend of both, recycled and original sculptures?
I think it'll be a blend of both. The whole concept of the eco district is to be sustainable. So utilizing natural materials, utilizing recycled materials. I think that there's definitely a focus on that. I don't see that once you have, more of the district thresholds or monuments that will be repeated throughout the district. I don't see those, repeatedly coming forward if it's the same design. But the first time that someone is coming forward with a particular design, I think that it's important that this board look at those. But to answer your question, I hope that I think that you'll see a little bit of a mix of both.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I got some questions too. And I think you were hinting at that, and I guess we'll be charged to figure out the answer to that. But maybe there is already some idea out there. So a few years back, I was here listening to a development proposal, and the office started with a statement, well, in Alpharetta, we're about traditional architecture. And so I think we've all adopted the thinking that that's not really who we are. We like variety a little bit, but is there a particular architectural field design that you're looking for in that eco district? And is there something where, from an architectural standpoint, we don't want to make cutesy art necessarily in a more modern or industrial setting, or do we want to mix it up? Is there any kind of design, what the design review board already has established in terms of architecture that we can maybe pick up on?
I'm glad that you asked that question. I actually did bring forward, we do have North Point Overlay District design guidelines. Those are typically going to be limited to the public realm within North Point, but they do address materials and some architecture. The North Point overlay area, it's meant to be distinct from the rest of the city. So, the downtown area has a focus on a historic downtown with historic architecture. The North Point area is completely opposite of that. This is meant to be, we see this area as attracting younger folks, younger families. It will have a more funky feel to it. So you will get modern architecture, contemporary architecture, that mix with industrial architecture. I think I have some good examples in here. This shows, lights, and I'll just quickly flip through that because a lot of this stuff is related to the public realm, but this is showing some lighting, some walls, use of green walls, some of the seating and common areas that you might see throughout the district. So, gathering areas and play areas, what those could look like. Tree wells or areas around, you'd use around the trees. Monument sign and sign materials that you might see. There's a big focus on corten steel, concrete. so that there is that kind of mix of industrial feel. So this is the architecture. So this is really the area where we go into the private side. So it's more kind of industrial warehouse reuse with a modern and contemporary twist on that is really what you're going to, what we anticipate seeing in that North Point area. We haven't received it yet, but I do know that, I'm not sure if you're aware, we're expecting a public hearing application very soon for North Point Mall. They were approved to take down the Sears a couple years back, but they do have a more larger, more ambitious plan. I've seen some renderings on that, and a lot of the renderings use this architecture. And I think that you'll see that it isn't the traditional architecture that you are used to. And then this is just some of the materials. I won't bore you with that. I hope that's answered your question.
Great. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much, Michael. That was very, very helpful.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Morgan.
Thank you. First, Michael, thanks for being here tonight. I think what you're seeing tonight is that, you're seeing the eco district. That's not the only district, obviously, in Alpharetta, but it's the one that's going to be coming forward. And whenever it comes forward, there's going to be questions, and we want y'all to ask questions. Don't feel like you just have to take what we give you, and that's it. If you have questions, answer those questions. We'll either ask Michael or somebody from his group to come in and answer those questions, because we've already seen that there's going to be an intersection between art and branding and signs and all that. We know that's coming, and there's probably going to be a couple of those intersections. Some of them are going to be, we're going to go up and there's going to be clear red lights, and then sometimes there's going to be green lights, and sometimes it's going to be a five-way stop, and we're not going to know what to do. So we're just going to, what this group needs to realize is that you need to make sure that you have the information that you need before you make a decision. Don't you, as a commission, you're not forced to make a decision. You don't have a timeline on decisions, but you need to make sure that you ask us what it is you need. We're going to try to give you as much as we can. When something comes like this, then Michael and his group is going to bring you, along with that, it's going to come those design pages so you can see what is supposed to be there, so the art will work in. So make sure that you understand that this is just one district in Alpharetta, so you're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And y'all are the new kids on the block. So we are kind of making up this as we go along. A lot of this is really what we've done is we jumped out of the airplane, and as we're going down, we're trying to pack our parachute. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. So just get ready for it, because it is exciting times. The good news is it's exciting times. There's a lot of things happening, and that's the good news. So just make sure you're comfortable with the position that you have and the information that's been given to you. If not, then you just ask for it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think what our experience has been is that we do ask a lot of questions.
Right.
And we want more of a lead time. I mean, don't bring us something a week before and expect us to vote on it.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying,
and
thank
there's
you.
going to be times we're going to bring you something, and there's going to be, we're going to say, okay, well, here's what we need to do. And you need to realize you're not bound by what we tell you to do, okay? If we tell you got to vote on this tonight, that's just staff telling you. It'd make our life a lot easier if this happened, or it'd make their life easier. But at the end of the day, you're in charge of this particular part of what's going on. So we want you to make sure that you do that. So, and we're going to try as much as we can to get you that information ahead of time. Believe me, don't any of us like to stand up here and say, well, we really need for you to do this on this date. None of us are comfortable doing that. So we're going to do everything we can not to do that. Okay?
And
Quick question going forward. I'm hearing signs, I'm hearing monuments, and I'm hearing sculptures. What have those definitions already come up with? Is that something that we're going to help define? And if so, which of each of those will actually come before the Cultural Arts Commission?
Well, I would tell you that all of them could. And so we don't know what we don't know yet. We don't know what these folks are going to be bringing to the table. So in this particular instance, the monument is used like you don't get tied up to that particular, that's just a word that they use. Basically, it's an entrance piece. That's what it is. They called it a monument, but at the end of the day, it's an entrance piece to the eco district, and that y'all are the ones that have approval rights on those. So I don't.
So we're packing the back of their shoe.
Right. So yeah. So let's don't get too. The terms are important, and as we're going through, when we find out that one term is wrong, we need to change it moving forward. But let's don't throw out the baby and the bathwater on that one. So because it's all going to get that, and that's why I'm really concerned about the signage and the art, colliding, and then all of a sudden we're out of compliance with our own city sign policy, and that's what we want to make sure that doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, it doesn't put me or Michael in a position. It puts the guys that are out there on the streets trying to say, no, you can't do this. They're the ones that we put on the spot. So we're going to be trying to do that. And so again, this is all new to us. So y'all give us a little grace when we're going through this, and just ask questions. And if you need more information, we'll get it to you. Or have a special call meeting too. Y'all can always come back to another meeting too, right?
Yeah, thank you, Morgan. I mean, it came out of our last meeting where we felt like, were we deciding on a sign or were we deciding on art? And so there's a little gray area that we're all going through. So it's a great question. Thank you.
None of it, and I'm sure Michael would agree, none of us want y'all to make a decision where you're not in a comfortable position. I'm not saying you need to be comfortable with your decision, because every decision, some people are going to like it and some people aren't. So, but you need to be comfortable in the information that you had to when you make that decision. And don't feel hurried or anything like that. Does that sound reasonable, Michael?
Sure does.
You can always, at a meeting, you can always make a motion to defer with them bringing back more information, or even when you get the packet, you can tell Kim or me and say, hey, we need this information, and we can talk to Michael or whatever.
But having this past weekend, had the pleasure of sitting through the mayor and council retreat with the new council members, and we talked about all things that are Alpharetta. And when the community development, Kathy Cook, started talking about the things that are coming, it's just like, wow, there's a lot of things coming down the pipe right now for Alpharetta. That's truly exciting, and y'all going to be in the mix at the heart of a lot of that's coming, because we really and truly want to make sure that we are preparing Alpharetta for our grandchildren. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to prepare this city for our grandchildren. When they get to be our age, they'll be proud of what we did, and that's what we're trying to do. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, and I guess we'll see a lot more of you, Michael. This is great.
It sounds like.
Dina has one more question.
About that. I think in December, we also recognize that there's a lot of overlap between Parks and Rec and Arts, and then rather than meeting each other here, it would be great to conduct some workshops, and I think that's the same with architectural review. So if we're bumping into signage and setting design standards, and rather than design, it's supposed to be public art, so maybe there's some opportunity for that as well.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you. Anything else before we move on? Terrific. Okay. Thank you. Okay, our next order is the cultural grant for services. I believe that's Kim.
Okay, that's better, I can tell. Thank you. The Cultural Grant for Services is a program, and we've done this once previously since we've had a Cultural Services Division, and that was in 2019, and we were unable to do it in 2020, and we are now reactivating the program again. The cusp and the basic idea of the program is to support our local art leader groups. In an art leader group, if you're not familiar with that, Arts Alpharetta is our nonprofit art group that supports all the arts in Alpharetta. All of our groups, they kind of serve as an umbrella group, and over 11 other art leader groups. And that could be a dance group, Act One, Metropolitan Ballet, the Alpha Arts Guild, and I can give you a list of those. But those are people that activate programs and that staff, really, cultural arts and everyone in the community rely on to multiply what we do. And with this grant in 2019, they submitted a request with the application. We let them decide how much money that they wanted to ask for, and they actually described the program that they wanted to do for the community with those funds. This year, because our funding is a little bit less, we have community-supported art funds within the budget. It's already been approved, it's there. And this year, we actually have $28,000 available. And what we've proposed, instead of asking them to propose an idea, we would just like to do an even split with all the groups. We think that would be a fair way. We met with Arts Alpharetta and got their recommendation, and they agreed. We've discussed it with staff, and we thought just an even split. We're already pretty much halfway, more than halfway through our budget year, and we would just like to make the process easy. We've all kind of had a rough year or two, and we'd like to make the process easy for them this year. So what we're proposing is there's 11 art leader groups. We're proposing that Arts Alpharetta would receive $4,000 of the $28,000, and the 10 art leader groups would receive $2,400 each, and that would be the split. And all they really have to do is fill out this application and describe what they're going to be doing for the community with their programs. So I just wanted to kind of let you know how we were splitting it and let you know that we met with Arts Alpharetta, we met with staff, and trying to figure out the fairest way to split the program funds this year since they were slightly reduced.
Do the groups already know about those?
They do not. Mm-mm.
And this may be a question for the council representatives that are here, because my understanding from this way back when we first did this, I think it was actually in 2018, is it was like you could get the grant for 3 years and then you wouldn't be eligible. Is there a restriction on this for a number of years? Does anybody know this?
We haven't put a restriction on it. We didn't do that. Some of the groups, Arts Alpharetta was gathering and creating some of that format, the art leaders and the umbrella, so we didn't create a limit on that. Right now there's 10 groups. So anybody that would like to be an art leader group just has to come and volunteer with Arts Alpharetta, has to volunteer in the community. A good example of that, could you share your example? That would probably be a really good example, Act 1.
Yes, Act 1 was a recipient of that, and as a result of those funds, we were able to do Shakespeare in the Park. We did a couple of shows, I believe, with the original grant that covers costumes and props and transportation for, dragging things back and forth in U-Haul. We've also had a sound system that was purchased by the city through those grant funds, which what the city can use, but we sort of have them in domain for we have a show. We also do shows in the Black Box Theater, the Arts Center, and we've got one coming up now, and we did Shakespeare in the Park, and Act 1 took that on this year simply because we were not hurt as badly as some of the other organizations being under the umbrella of Alpharetta Presbyterian and not having rent to pay in the middle of COVID. It's very much appreciated.
This is just more from my general knowledge. Would the symphony, Alpharetta Symphony Orchestra, be considered a leader group, or is that separate?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They're a part of the art leader groups.
Okay.
And I can send you a list of those if you'd like, the complete group, all the groups.
That'd be great. Go ahead.
I have a quick question. Do you have a committee that approves or makes decisions for these funds and how they're going to be split? Are the leader groups also voting members?
We actually had, we have a review process. The first year, everyone submitted their request, and we reviewed and met with Arts Alpharetta and staff.
Okay.
And we reviewed the entire amount. Arts Alpharetta does not vote on their portion.
Okay.
They only analyze the other art leader groups, and staff does the recommendation for Arts Alpharetta.
Okay, thank you.
So I feel like there's a little bit of history missing. There's a gap for some folks, so I'd like to try to fill that gap in. So if you go back to pre-COVID in 2019, was it? the 2019 budget, we asked for $50,000 to provide grants for services to arts organizations in Alpharetta, with the idea that if we had some seed money or some money to help groups that are already providing programs, that they could provide more programs very quickly because they were already up and running, rather than trying to start new programs. We were trying to start new programs, but we wanted to get things going. So the mayor and council approved the $50,000 for the program for services. And so we had a committee made up of staff as well as a couple of members from the Recreation Commission at the time, and all the groups applied to that group. And we went through all the applications and made a determination this is how we were going to spend that $50,000. And I think we did, if you look at the track record from that year, a lot of good things happened. Well, along comes COVID, and we were in our second year getting ready to do it. We had the money approved, and then COVID hit. So we lost that $50,000 from our budget that year and could not provide those services. Well, this year, some of the money was put back into the budget. So we have this year $24,000 that's approved, and we've waited to make sure that we were able to spend that money. We're going to get through it, and we see our way clear now. And so rather than trying to go back with such a small amount, we now have 11 groups that are not internal, they are already doing things with us. They're already trusted partners, if you will. And so we thought the best way to do was take the money this year, split it among our trusted partners, and then let them to tell us what they were going to do with that money. We're not just going to tell them, give them the money and say, here, go do good stuff. They got to tell us what they're going to do with that $2,400. And we will make sure staff will determine that we're getting a good bang for our bucks. So that's kind of how we're going to do it this year. And then if it's approved in next year's budget, then we can talk about the process, whether we want to go back to we want to continue with our leader groups, or we want to go back to an application process.
I do, because I've been involved historically, but that funds also went for the temporary public art project in City Center. They were separated then?
Yeah.
And this is going to be something, okay, because originally it was all one. Thank you.
Well, originally when we first started talking about it, and then that was like, really, if you go back to 2018, there was just one budget. And in 2019, we separated those two. Mm-hmm. Because, again, if you look around the country, the model that really works is where grants are given to groups to do things that are already doing. Those models work. You can go down to Atlanta and see that. You can go to any of the progressive cities, and you'll see that same model working. So that money in 2019, $50,000 was just for the program services. And it sounds like a lot of money, but at the end of the day, when you start splitting that up, it's not a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. Because I got two council members sitting in the audience who I don't want them to think that I think $50,000 isn't a lot of money, because it is. But when you divide that up among 10 or 11 people, it's not as big, but it does have a big impact because they already have in place the programs and the services to do things. They don't have to go hire additional people. They don't have to, do the administrative work. They can go ahead and get the programs going. So I wanted to fill in that little bit of history, particularly for our new members and those that don't have as good a memory as they used to. So, all right.
Thank you, Morgan. I appreciate that. Any other questions for Morgan? All right.
I would maybe just like to leave a comment on that. I think because we're still kind of coming out of crisis mode, I don't think there's anything wrong with evenly distributing, because we want to make sure that the programs continue. But I also know that if you're given $2,400 or $24,000 or $240,000 and you have to spend them by the end of the year, you're going to figure out to spend them. And I think that would be a wrong strategy for all the organizations. Like, we want them to come to us and tell us what they think they can do. So maybe next year would be good again to, have like a safety blanket, especially for the organizations that haven't really figured out how to monetize their programs yet, to a point where they can carry themselves, but then really build on that and say, hey, come to us and tell us, what's your vision? Because I think that's what we're after.
I couldn't agree with you more. And so I want to make sure you understand, we're not to give them that money until they tell us what they're going to do. Okay, so they're gonna fill out this application and tell us what they're gonna do, and the maximum they could get is $2,400. That's the maximum. But we're gonna make sure we really have to be good stewards of this money. We want to make sure that we don't want $2,400 worth of stuff. We want $5,000 worth of stuff for this $2,400, and that's really, we're gonna make sure they do it. So we've decided that we're gonna split it, assuming that the applications match that. And if they don't, then we'll make adjustments accordingly.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And the premise, just to help a little bit with that too, is on this application, they're required to do a program description. They have to give program deliverables, and they'll have to give us an itemized budget and board of directors and staff, and that they're 501(c), and then they'll have to give us a report. That'll be a part of that at the end of the time frame. So there's still accountability there with how they're spending the funds with the community, so.
Terrific. Okay, no other questions? All right, thanks, Kim. And I guess you can stay there because now you can give us an update on what's happening in cultural arts.
Just to touch base, we had a very successful, we have a gallery in the Arts Center. In our current gallery show, we have 3 illustrators that we've been speaking about. And we had a Harry Potter day that was we had a great turnout. We had a teen illustration workshop. We had kids rotating with the art activities, wands and owls and all sorts of fun like that. And then we had a free artist talk with the illustrator. And to finish out this series, this Saturday, we'll have C.F. Payne, he's pretty famous as far as the illustrators. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but this is his work. He does a lot of covers. He's done several covers for Time Magazine, Mad Magazine. And he's going to be sharing some secret about his technique this weekend. So please try to sign up if you're interested and you want to learn a little bit more. Our upcoming cultural happenings, usually the format I try to tell you, I'll kind of review a little bit in the past, just highlight a few things, then I try to get you excited about what's coming up. And Sabine had asked a question before the meeting that made me want to remind everybody and kind of share. If you're looking for these upcoming cultural happenings, they're on the Arts and Culture webpage as part of the city website. So there's a calendar. All of these are listed there, and you can go through that. In addition to right below there is our Instagram page, our feed that comes up, and there's visuals. And if you ever want to share to like Windward, you had mentioned that, I'll be happy to help you do that too. Coming up, I'm going to do you mind, Melody, if I ask you to tell about the show that's coming up with Act 1 that you have in February?
Well, I am not as familiar with that.
Oh, you're not? Oh, sorry, that's true. I thought you.
I've been involved enough.
Okay.
Yes, we are doing Maytag version as a tie-in with Valentine's. It's a sort of thoughtful romantic, not real comedy, but it's got some comedic aspects to it. It is a 2-person show. It is very well written and very touching, and it will be coming up with the dates.
Yes, it's.
12, 18, 19. And we do charge for those shows because we want to make sure that there's perceived value. We've been happy to do Shakespeare in the Park for free because we want to cultivate that kind of culture, but we definitely have the cost to cover, and it will be in the black box, complete with an entire set and costume changes, etc. I don't know if they have planned for refreshments, but when we did the last Valentine's one, we did wine because we were able to do that, not being in church, and chocolate-covered strawberries and desserts, and so I'm sure that we'll be doing something like that.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
It is. Thank you.
When we spoke earlier, Kim, I was thinking that maybe we can take this on, throughout the year, but since we have a docket for all of those official documents that you're managing so elegantly, Ellie, maybe there's a way for all of us to have access to the websites and a way for the art leader groups to drop their flyers so that we can use them and repost? Is there a way to do that?
So you're wanting flyers for the programs, the actual, let me look into that. Let me see. You're just wanting to be able to push those back out,
Yeah.
not through Facebook or a social media outlet, but just to have the hard, I can do that. We
Well,
can-
digital, because I'm not driving around to do this. So the idea was to have it digital.
Okay.
But it's sometimes hard to grab an image if it's not the right size, right? And so if there's a media campaign where we could just drop all these prefab images that we can then
I
pick them
don't, I
up.
don't, Kim's the one that, I'm just
Okay.
letting you know that's.
It's
I
almost
figured
like
'cause you-
having a media kit, I suppose,
Yeah,
each
Right.
event,
Yeah,
and then we can
campaign
just pull
kit,
those
yeah.
images.
Okay.
but since you're the one, Ellie, who's managing the open access, the documents for the commission, I figured maybe there was a way for you to internally do that, but yeah, if you, I
Let
don't-
me, let me,
we
let
can
me
talk
look into
about
it.
it.
I'm sure there's something we can
Yeah.
figure out on there, because we have all the visuals and we have all that, so I just need to figure out an easy way to get it to you,
Yeah.
so.
awesome.
Okay, sure. We do have, on that weekend, we're also going to have a live discussion, and I'm probably not going to pronounce his name correctly, but I apologize. It's Niger Mural. I hope I'm saying that right. He was a former Lost Boys of Sudden, and he will be speaking in the Alpharetta Community Room. It's free. And this is actually a part of our series that we've been working on. We have a Alpharetta Black History and Celebrations Committee, and this is part of that series that we're working through, and I'm going to highlight some other events that we have coming up for that too. But if you can stop by, this is an actual survivor, and the story's pretty impactful. Mike Buchanan knows the gentleman and brought him in for that. So, Alpharetta Music Club, that we're having our monthly performance on February 13th. It's a pretty busy weekend over there, and I even skipped over Bob Ross, so I'm sorry about that. I just looked down, I'm like, so if you want to learn techniques of Bob Ross, that's a lot of groups are couples are coming in and kind of doing that class together, signing up together. So we have a new show coming up, The Potter's Hand, at the next gallery exhibit at the Alpharetta Arts Center. And then LaVon Jones, the electric violin performance, is another part of it. It's a musician, and it's another part of our Black History and Celebration series. And what could you share about her?
That should be a J, Javon.
Javon, thank you.
Javon.
Okay.
She's a award-winning violinist. She's coming from Augusta. I don't know what happened with Edward, but I'll give him another call.
Okay.
I think that was on the 5th.
I think it was tentatively down, but we can talk about it. You can let me know.
If not, I may commit to perform that date for him.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Gene sings, by the way, if you don't know.
Yeah, they heard at the Christmas. I did.
Yeah, Morgan said his voice is beautiful. So.
Thank you. So going straight into the Black History and Celebrations Committee, this is just sort of a working document that the committee has. We've been meeting about once every 2 weeks, besides over the holidays. And this is an ongoing list. No idea is a bad idea. This really started with the premise of, I think, really Black History Month. And we quickly expanded it into Juneteenth and into the entire year. So I don't know where the committee's going to land, but I'm getting the feeling we're going to have that as a permanent ongoing committee, it seems like to me, which is wonderful. But we've got a lot of things that not all of them are committed right now, but a lot of them are moving pretty well, I think. Did you want to share any updates on that at all? Anything that?
I guess the Juneteenth would be one, and just kind of, I was hoping that when Ashley did the Hidden Figures, I had someone coming for Kim that did a great job. I want to thank you for that. Hopefully we can get her back and get some more of her authors to participate throughout the year. I think that'd be great.
That's great. Ashley's a writer, and she's an inspiration, and she taught kids over, I think it was January 15th, taught them how to dream big, and she did a workshop with kids and did a vision board, and they all got their ideas out there. So it was a pretty impactful program. So.
Local? Sorry. She local, Alpharetta?
Mm-hmm. Or I don't know.
She lives in Stone Mountain, so I had her tried to, I'm sorry. She, originally when I brought it to Kim, I think it was something had happened, but she was supposed to teach a class, and then they rescheduled it, and Kim reached out to me for an illustrator, and I recommended Ashley, and she called me and told me it was wonderful. It was a wonderful event.
And we did that in conjunction with MLK Day weekend. We tried to make that an expansion of that. So moving forward, public art and history, Studio Movie Grill Mural. I don't know if you've driven by, but it's there.
Is it? Wow.
And I'm showing this picture, but you got to go. It's much larger when when we discussed it and it was approved. It's just much more impactful and larger than you realize. So if you can, drive by. It's off of North Point Parkway. Do you know where Barnes & Noble, it's that movie theater, their Studio Movie Grill has taken over. So on the end there, just wanted to let you know that that's done. And they're looking at doing an unveiling with the artist and get your photo taken. It's tentatively scheduled on February 9th, so I'll let you know more about that. And I was just speaking to her this afternoon, so I'll let you know when I find out. Online story map and tours, please go there and try to take a look. There's two, public art and history. There's two different story maps that you can actually go and explore the assets and resources, their historical markers, their sculptures. It tells history, it shows photos, it shows the artist, and it's just a way to be at home and to learn more, and then you can go out and find these locations too. So both of these projects don't have really an ending date. We just keep adding to them and making them better. So let's see. And I think the last thing I have is we have our new guide I wanted to share with you and let you take a copy home. This is for the Arts Center and programs throughout. And a point, kind of a fun page to note, we actually have, let's see if I can find it here, I should have marked it. We have a songwriting class. We have some neat things, music focused. So please take a look in here and take a class too. So, any questions, anything?
Actually, I want to commend the department and all the effort in the Black History Month. After years and years participating in the Martin Luther King holiday events, there was always such an outpouring of, hey, we got to do this more often, and to recognize now that there's something going on all the time, to build, so the foundation is laid for not only something to happen on Martin Luther King holiday, but for that to continue all year through. So thank you for that.
Well, we have a lot of people on the committee, and they're doing a lot of good work. I mean, it's actually gotten to the point where we're having branch-off committees right now. So I'm not even up to date on, I think, your most recent meeting, so that's great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Under unfinished business, do we have anything, Kim?
I can't think of
Well,
it.
there is one topic which we didn't talk about, which we've brought up before, which has to do with the street performers. And I know Michael had sent out to all of us a copy of his suggestion, and that Melody and the others have been working on this. And where are we with it? Could you update us on that?
We have a draft application. We met right before the holidays, and so I actually resent that back out today, just said, hey, committee, do we have any changes before we send it to the commission and for review? So I'm waiting on their response. One of the committee members said, yes, I've got a couple of things I need to add. Good point. So I think the holidays just kind of faded out a little bit, so we're getting back, and we'll get those edits, and maybe we can bring it up for discussion in a workshop. I know that's something we needed to talk about.
Okay.
And the next meeting, I can send it out and see if you have any questions.
To catch the two commission members up, there was a proposal to have busking or street performers, and they've done a lot of work on this particular issue, and hopefully we'll see something coming before us soon. Awesome, terrific, very excited, thank you. Okay, now we're into any commission members. Does anybody have any items they'd like to bring up? Really? Okay, great. Public comment. Gentlemen, anybody have anything you want to say?
So, the mayor appoints one council member to be the liaison to each of the departments within the city. In January, the mayor appointed us a new liaison, and it's Mr. Councilman John Hypes, and he's here tonight. And he attended the Recreation Commission meeting, and now he's here at the Cultural Arts Commission, and certainly would invite John up to make any comments that he would like to do. We're excited about John being our liaison. He's, you know, if he walks Alpharetta more, I think, than anybody else does, and so he's a man about the town. And so, John, if you will, come on up. Love to hear from you.
Just real quickly, I'm the luckiest guy there is to be appointed to be liaison to Parks Rec. Cultural arts is like the assignment I was hoping to get. So first of all, I'm just thrilled to death to be standing here in front of you. Second of all, you know, what staff is doing in that department and with Morgan's leadership and with the input from the community through you all, it's really great days ahead for all of Alpharetta. And, you know, my thoughts are, you know, great cities have great parks and we have great parks and we're making those parks better. But, you know, where you really separate yourself is when you have arts and cultural offerings in the city. And so I'm really excited to see that not only are we doing that, but we have a plan to do it in sort of a thoughtful manner through this commission. So yes, I do walk a lot. I am a heavy consumer of downtown. And you know, everybody's got their personal favorites, and I have a personal favorite. I mean, I love the visual arts. Some of them speak to me, some of them don't. Some of them I look at it, I'm like, oh, I get that. And some of them I look at it, I'm like, well, that's art. I'm not sure if I get that or not. But I love, in the summers, all the music coming from all the different directions of downtown. And my wife and I, we took a trip. We were out of town, but we were in the city where it was a much bigger city. But walking it was Cartagena. You know, we're in Cartagena, and there was just music coming from everywhere, and it was just wonderful. These little narrow streets, and when we came back that weekend, we were downtown, and because of like the music match and all of our efforts to promote music through the local establishments, we were walking downtown, and I just remember telling her, I said, this is like we're still on our trip, because there was music coming from, you know, Food Truck Alley area and music coming from this side of town, and every time you turned a corner, and it was just so wonderful. It's just such an added value for all of us to enjoy Alpharetta. So thank you for all that you all do. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, John. All right, any other comments? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.